everybody to the Accessibility Coalition of Tippecanoe County Act, our quarterly meeting. We have some special guests here today.
Well, I don't know if I'm special.
You were very special.
But I'm only going to be here for a few minutes. I just thank you for everything you do for your communities, and you've got a gem here. I mean, you're making a difference in everything you do, not only with your government facilities, but the advocacy within the community. And we just need more communities like you. Paul is not only a great friend, but an amazing ADA and Title VI coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you. I learned from the best.
Oh, well,
So,
Jim.
do you want to go around and everybody introduce themselves? Again, David, we'll start that way.
So, hello, if you weren't here for the previous meeting, I'm David Potts. I'm the Tippecanoe County software specialist. Basically, I do the webmaster, various tasks related to mediating documents for accessibility, website, and also a whole list of other things that actually don't pertain to accessibility. Let's just leave it at that for now.
He's my WCAG 2.121
2.1
something or other
2.2.
specialist.
We're aiming for 2.2 right now, but we're not yet there. So.
Paula Bennett, Tippecanoe County ADA Title VI coordinator.
I'm Kathy Gross. Never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, but about 12 or 15 years ago, got voluntold that I'd be an ADA and Title VI coordinator. It became a passion for me. So here I am. And I'm with AIM, Association of Indiana Municipalities.
Tim Clark, for those that you don't know, everybody in here probably knows who I am. I don't know what exactly my title is with this, if there is even a title.
You're the chairman.
The chairman for the ACT committee,
The volunteer
volunteer
Committee
group.
Advisory Council.
Welcome, thank you.
Tracy Brown, Tippecanoe County Commissioner.
Tony Dilline, Tippecanoe County Facilities Director. I was hired on 27 years ago this month. This gentleman was my first boss at the Sheriff's Department.
I had hair like
Was he Paula's
I
boss?
said, aren't you the boss
Oh.
down there? Blue.
Kyle Charlesworth, maintenance tech for the county.
Gary Van Leer, Facilities Maintenance Tech, part of the county's ADA team.
He's also a certified ADA coordinator along with
Andy Clyde, I run the fairgrounds for the Tippecanoe County.
the most
Still
compliant,
don't know what I want to be either.
but the most compliant building in all of our facilities, hands down, from start to finish.
I'm Erin McGuire. I lived in Lafayette ever since I was born. I have an intellectual disability. I'm also the president for Self Advocates Indiana, and I serve on the board of directors for the ARC of Indiana.
Kent Croft, CIO, Tippecanoe County. I make sure Tony's staff works.
Give them this progress.
Just spend all day on the cameras watching them.
So Eric Props, just interested citizen, I guess, is what I fall under.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
I've known this guy since college. How about that?
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Okay, we're taking you out for drinks later. We need all the good stuff.
Spent a lot of time with this guy.
I forgot to mention Tim, sorry. I also have a 26-year-old daughter that lives in Newcastle in a unisex group home, and she is on the autism waiver and also has seizures.
Okay, so it is vitally important. Okay.
Hi, my name is Greg Lindberg. I'm the IT project manager for the city of West Lafayette. Previously, before that, I worked several years as a IT specialist for Purdue Extension. Did a lot with ADA in regards to web and anything technology related, so definitely interested.
Monica Wantor, I'm the HR manager at the city of West Lafayette. ADA Title VI coordinator, not certified yet, just voluntold. And also the chair of our newly reformed reform the ADA Title VI committee.
I had just sent you an email with a sign-in sheet. Can you get it printed off
Yeah,
so everybody can sign in?
I probably have an extra one earlier today.
I'm going to leave you to it. Keep up the great work. Thank you for everything you do. And any of you, reach out to Paula, and if you want to come to any of our trainings we have around the state, we'll be having another one in Plainfield, Bloomington. NDOT will be hosting one in August, and then the AIM Idea Summit in French Lick, which is always great. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
You're making the world a better place. Commissioner Brown, I don't know if you remember, but years and years ago, when we first started this association, you received an award at the Association of Indiana Counties. I remember Paula had nominated you. I think you were one of our first award winners. So anyway, he goes way back with advocacy of support.
I nominated him?
Thank you. Yes, you did.
I thought that highly of him. Of course I did.
You absolutely did.
I've
Thank
got
you.
to, I want you to sign in for my receipt, and
Okay.
then we'll let you head out.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming, and thanks for all of your leadership and your guidance and.
Well, something
Everything.
she hasn't tooted her own horn about. She is the vice president of the state Indiana ADA and Title VI coordinators. So,
That's only because they couldn't find anybody
No,
else.
that's
willing to
not
do it.
She missed a meeting. She missed a
yeah,
meeting.
she was
I
volunteer.
missed the meeting. Thank you. All right. Who are you?
Who am I? I already said it anyway. So I'm going to start, thank you all for coming. This is actually awesome, because last we had 4 people at our meeting, so
I was listening.
you were listening, right? So, thank you for showing up, because obviously COVID hit and changed a lot of things for everybody, but now we're starting to ramp this all back up to try to get everybody involved. And we had a small group meeting, and a couple of the things that we want to try to accomplish is, one is we need to write a mission statement of what this is all about. And Paula has some things that she's written up, so we want to kind of get that, and we're not going to do that today, but we want to get that narrowed down to what that's going to stay, a quick statement of who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. One of the other things too is, we discussed is getting word out to more and more people. And how do we do that? And I've sat down with the Greater Lafayette Commerce. I've had 2 meetings with them already. They are on board with helping us give information out in their newsletters to all their constituents as far as the people that belong to the Greater Lafayette Commerce, with some bullet points as far as who we are and what we're all about and why we're doing what we're doing. I think that a lot of it is, it's number one, it's our passion. We just heard from Kathy that, you received an award 2 or 3 years ago, whatever that may have been, but this is my 15th year that I've been involved with ADA. So obviously from my perspective, I have a personal interest in all this because of my kids. So, but again, at some point, I think that most of us are gonna be there in some way, shape, or form. Tracy has said that to me many times, that if we aren't there yet, at some point, we're going to be. So, Gary, you were talking before this meeting started about, he has a 2-story house and putting an elevator in his house for when, at some point in time, being able to get upstairs.
Can I come and push all the buttons?
They should only have one button. You can.
So that's, I guess, getting everybody back together, or starting this whole process of getting everybody back in the room. I would like to just kind of go around the room real quick and kind of like what we did in the last meeting, and that is, we know who you are, but tell us one of the reasons why you're here and one of the things that you think that we should be trying to get done. So, and we'll go reverse in the room. Monica?
Kind of as I mentioned in the first meeting, for those that weren't here, the committee that we reformed at the city was formed, reformed. Obviously, COVID hit. The last meeting was well before I was on the committee, so I had no idea what was going on. So getting the information out, not just to the community, but getting it out to your organization. We have a representative from each of our departments, but we're all newbies, if you will. Like, we don't know what we're doing. We're all kind of fumbling through and getting that guidance, those resources, those sources, if you will, of kind of guiding us through what we need to know, like just as a basis and what we can kind of build off of. So like I told Paula earlier, it's like I'm going to use her hand and hold me through this whole process. But like she responded, no, we're going to hold each other's hand, because she's done this for a while. But, obviously there's always some things to learn, so.
Yeah, personally, I'm definitely looking at the web and tech side of things, but as especially in West Lafayette, we have a lot of projects coming this year. Little things, even outdoor things that affect ADA, how technology can be used to improve a lot of those things. How we can make sure that we are doing our due diligence when we do push out new releases and anything related to the web to make sure that we meet ADA requirements. Technology is always changing and improving, so.
I fell into that. It's been a few years, I think, since I've been here. So I think awareness is probably, the biggest thing of, just to make sure that people are aware of the things and not that it's coming down on you, but just help them, whether they're community businesses or other things.
I was gonna say, would you say that we're a pretty welcoming and accessible community? Where are our biggest drawbacks that you can just, right off the top of your head?
For the most part, it is. Now, I'm pretty easygoing, so I can get around and get out and do things on my own. Certainly when you look down here, there's some places that are hard to get into around here. And one that I even laugh at, every time I park out there and you've got the bricks right next to the parking, I've got a ramp. Is it gonna catch or is it gonna go flat? Because I've had times where I'll be there and I'll be like, just need to get somebody to walk by and say, can you push that down for me? So, and those are subtle little things, and that's in an accessible parking spot. And I don't know what the code is on that. It was just one, I just thought when I got here, I'm like, will it go down? And it did, so. But, I mean, I think
But
that, yeah.
that's the kind of thing we don't know, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
we don't know.
Yeah, but no, I think the accessibility is pretty decent. Parking's gotten a lot better over the years.
Working towards it
noticed
still,
that,
but I
yeah.
mean, but I would hope that you would feel comfortable bringing it and saying, hey, have you looked at this, or,
Yeah.
I mean, as a community, West Lafayette, City, I think, because we're in a pretty good relationship with the city of Lafayette, too.
Yeah.
They were here earlier at the first meeting. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, I have a problem, well, that's the city of Lafayette, but I know who to
Yeah.
contact, we're pretty good about making those connections.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, so if I have an awareness of it, I certainly can bring it up and say, is this right, or is this addressed?
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
So initially, I got on this because Paula wouldn't leave me alone. She opened my eyes to the website of it and the other IT aspects. David refers to the web part of it being his, and that's turning into a good chunk of his job. But the other stuff, the day-to-day desk stuff, just having access to the proper monitors so people can see those kind of things, that's opened my eyes to a lot of issues that we've had and we've tried to correct. So just staying on top of that and pushing that out to the other IT leaders across the state is where I'm focused.
I was invited here, so this is my first time. I think one of the keynotes that I would have to hit on that I've seen is accessibility, especially like housing. Because you have people like in wheelchairs. I have a friend that is a wheelchair user and blind. And I think that's just one issue that we run into, people with disabilities that want to live on their own. And I'm just sort of surprised, like, the people that are building these apartments and stuff don't take that into consideration, you know, thinking about like dimensions of like, oh, you know, taking a wheelchair and thinking, okay, we need to make the door this width, or maybe put braille or something. So when there is somebody that has those needs, they can make that accessible for that person. You know, just like lower the shelves a little bit, so then make the accommodation for them accessible.
Aaron, would we work with the Centers for Independent Living for things like that? And would that be a good resource for us to reach out to?
Probably, and I'm on one of their
Okay,
committees.
so you'd be a good connection for us with that. That's good.
Be a great way to get word out.
Mhm.
I run the fairgrounds, and I've been here 10 years for the county, and was involved with the new construction of the new place, and have a couple of special people in my family that I absolutely love that need accommodations, and that's pretty much what drove my passion for creating the fairgrounds, or looking at different ways of making it better, more accommodating for others.
And you did an amazing job,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Wasn't always good.
And I hear it a lot.
A lot.
I hear it a lot from other people, so I was tooting your horn earlier. I wish you'd been here to hear it.
Tears made him blush.
I guess I feel like I was the average Joe that started in this, because I was the guy with the keys. When they had, before I'd ever even knew what ADA stood for, we were having our facilities inspected, and the two people who were doing the inspections were both in wheelchairs. And I walked them through every building that we had and every aspect of it, and watching them struggle through our buildings in actually some of the accessible areas even was amazing to see what small little things can cause so much trouble. And then after that, I was asked if I wanted to be on the ADA committee, and yeah, I do.
That was nice you said that you were asked.
I was not volunteered, I was asked, and after watching them inspect our facilities, and I'd say overall, we were in decent shape, not phenomenal, but decent shape. But I watched them struggle through these buildings, and I had never witnessed that, you know? I mean, I might have seen somebody, you know, struggling with something at one point, but it's not every aspect of all of these buildings that they were going into and measuring slopes, and I do know that it's 1/4 of an inch is the rise of a crack in the sidewalk is legal.
Acceptable.
So, but we all know 1/8 of an inch will probably stop that ramp.
Yep.
You know, so it doesn't make it unacceptable, but it just makes it something that we could absolutely look at and make it better. So, seeing that, hearing that means a lot to us. That's how I'm here and why I'm here, I guess.
For me, it's kind of coming into this new, with all of the ADA stuff, so I think the more exposure to it, for me, the better. Just to hear the different, aspects and angles from just everybody, just all that input, I think it's helpful for me to understand it better.
For me, it's the passion of getting to know what's really going on in and out, inside and outside of facilities, not just commercialized space, but residential space as well. Because everywhere I go, it affects us. I'm fortunate enough right now that I don't have family members that depend on ADA compliancy. Not saying it'll never happen, hopefully it won't, but if it does, I will be more aware on how to handle and help family members, let alone friends, because I do have friends that are like that I've had deep conversations with. But this is a passion for me. It wasn't when I started here 27 years ago, but it has immensely grown through the years. and it will continue to grow. That's why I'm here to learn, because every day we learn. There's some things that maybe I might find out today or learn today I didn't know yesterday. So that's my passion, is keep growing and learning. So.
So I know, my first ADA symposium, I think it was, although you were there, I remember a speaker getting up, one of the hundreds that we've seen over the years, and saying, we are all temporarily able-bodied. And I've never forgotten that. And it meant a lot then, but it's easy for it to mean, it's one thing for it to mean a lot when you're sitting on the sidelines watching other people, but when it becomes deeply personal to you, it's a whole nother level. And that doesn't mean that other people and their struggles aren't important. They are. They're critical. But when your mom's life changes to the point where she's switching from a walker to a wheelchair and sometimes back to a walker, and you watch the littlest things all of a sudden in her apartment become an encumbrance, or getting out into public. I mean, it's a day-by-day thing, and I realize that the difference between a good day and a bad day for her is it's a good day if she's able to just get out in the sunlight and go someplace. And if that's a good experience and we're able to make that and go to the places she wants to go to with a wheelchair, it makes her she just lights up from it. And watching my friend Tim and care for his adult children, I know it is a constant. It is in everything, permeates everything that you do on a daily basis. And I wake up every morning thinking that there are things out there that we can do, and we don't have to do those out of fear of fines or lawsuits or things like that. We should be doing it because it's the right thing to do. And always working to be better, and that's our goal. I don't know if that's in our mission statement.
It should be. Go ahead. I'll go last.
I just want to see us do better with our programs and services. I think we do a pretty good job with our facilities and I mean, I think that's pretty much, you do that as a part of your culture now. It's a daily thing. But it's programs and services that I may not always be aware of, that we might need to tweak something for the people that are out there that have family members or whatever. Like when Taffy was here earlier and she was talking about the English language. I mean, we take that for granted, right? But sometimes we have to tweak that. We have a very large Asian population here. They speak English, but they don't necessarily always understand it as well as, especially when we communicate quickly. So it's every aspect of it. And I remember that we've gone through, and I know we have a hard time sometimes with our blind services contract. That's really important, because that gives those people independence. The people that don't have, they have visual impairments. And I know that just our last person, he lost his business because his vision got even worse, and there's nobody to drive him. That's why Dennis lost his business. He didn't have anybody to drive him around to maintain his business. And that's pretty sad. So, anyway.
So I have a few things. So Kent mentioned, it's a significant portion of my time is spent remediating documents and working on accessibility. I would say it could be even more. Like, I could be putting more time into that. There's oftentimes other duties that I have that pull me away from remediating things like today, like being here, running this meeting and doing things like that. PDF remediations, they can be incredibly time consuming. Sometimes I have to iterate on them again and again and again until I get it just right. ADA, to make them accessible, it wants you to have it set up in the exact right fashion. And if you don't have that, it's not right. Go back, start over until it is perfect. We've got 5,000 plus documents on our website. How many of those actually are from 2015 or after, I'm not certain. But obviously,
Most of them.
yeah, most of them. So let's say 4/5 of them. That's still 4,000 documents. I'm trying to maintain a rate of 1 a week. That's 50 documents in a year. How far behind am I going to be? So we have to get other departments on the same page. Other departments need to be creating accessible content. It can't be the duty of one department, one person in one department to go back and fix everyone's mistakes. We've got to get this, the entire government needs to be on the same page. It's essential. Otherwise, we're always going to be playing that losing battle of catch up. So I think I've said my piece. That is it. And
Are you passionate about that, David?
absolutely.
Okay.
So, some of the notes that I wrote down here, the parking, parking is a big issue a lot of places that you go, and I'm gonna pick on the city of Lafayette, because they're not sitting here right now, but, they did the new parking lot where the old drugstore used to be by Lowe Stadium. And they have 6 or 7 parking spots, not a single one of them is AD accessible. And I've had meetings with them, it's like, you gotta change these, like, well, no, we don't, it's like, so I quit pushing that issue, but, when we're building something, make sure that we do it correctly. Let's go back to the county fairgrounds. You did those things correctly, and when you found something that wasn't correct, when you were working with your construction management company, you got those things taken care of before the contractors left. That's one of the things that that needs to be pushed.
But we found with your help, after it was finished, that some of those van accessible spots were on slope. And I took out the ones that were definitely not right and changed the others over to straight like you did because of slope. And, that's because you make it blue doesn't make it right.
So, housing accessibility, FHA, because FHA falls under the whole housing thing. If we know facilities are not compliant, we need to get out there and see them to say, because this is what I hear when I get called out to a facility, they say, that doesn't affect us. It does affect you because you're getting federal dollars to rent these apartments out. You have to have, so many of your apartments have to meet ADA. And they push back all the time, and the pushback is usually not from the local person, but it's from the main office, wherever the main office happens to be. Sometimes we're in St. Louis, sometimes we're in Chicago, sometimes we're in LA, but getting to the right person there to get them to understand that these things, that they need to be taken care of. Kathy had brought up that one of the things that she has done when she was in Monticello, and we need to do, is come up with a form that,
like that,
because the NDOT wants us to see, we can say, oh, well, we had no complaints this year. But we could sit here today and say, we've heard a couple different things that they're not really complaints, they're more suggestions, and we need to write those things up. The parking issue of, there is a compliant parking spot that you have to have on every block that's van accessible, which means you have to have a 5-foot aisle on the side of the vehicle for the ramp to be able to come down, for somebody to be able to unload. So there are requirements for that. So it's not a complaint, but it's a suggestion. Observation, that we need to write those up. So when we report that every year to NDOT, they can see that, hey, we're listening to our group, and these are the things that they're telling us. We had talked about this before the meeting had started, and anybody that's been doing this for any period of time at all, if you've been to one symposium and actually listened through the whole entire symposium, if you are compassionate about what you're doing, to this day, there's not a building that you're gonna walk into that you're gonna say, that's not right, and, oh, that's not right, and it's ingrained in there that you're really not looking for anything, but you see the things that are not compliant. And we said that earlier, and we all said the same thing, is, yeah, that's exactly what we do when we walk into a building, or into a parking lot, or any type of an establishment. And it's not that we're police out here saying, you gotta change these things, but it brings things to your attention. So when I walk into facilities, I will tell them, hey, I'm an ADA coordinator. I know to you that doesn't mean anything, but to me it means a lot, because I saw a couple things that really need to be addressed in your parking lot, or your accessible route to your building, or accessible route to the restrooms, or whatever, that you need to take a look at. And the majority of the time, what I hear is, I didn't know. I just didn't know. Nobody's ever brought it to my attention before. Tell me what it is that I need to do, and you tell them, and the majority of the time, they're gonna go out and do something to try to make it better.
So along those lines, I see it from my perspective in a chair, but somebody that has visual impairments, I can't speak for them, and so I would be just not aware of some of the things that they would
And it's ironic that you said the visually impaired, because that's the next thing I have on here, is because Gary, you were talking about going around with the guys that were in wheelchairs, and the things that they did, and the things that, when you saw the things that were very difficult, go with a couple individuals like that one day, and then go with the next day with somebody that's visually impaired, and it opens up a whole different can of worms of everything
We
that they
haven't
go
had
through.
anybody. I tried to get him to come and join us. Dennis was the only one, and now he doesn't have transportation.
And it's amazing when you really start thinking about, how this has become such a huge help to them to get from one place to another, because it tells them where, walk to this corner and wait for the light to turn and
There's
whatever.
even, I'm sorry, not trying to interrupt you, but there's apps that you can like hold your camera phone up and it'll tell you what object you're looking at. So if you're a blind person,
It's amazing.
That's only if the alt text is correct.
No, I mean like just objects in the
Oh,
physical
just
world.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
like you
gotcha.
just like pointed
Because of
at
AL.
this and it's like, oh, that's a water bottle, that's a laptop, that's a
Because of
microphone.
AL.
It'll tell
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many aspects of ADA that, we could sit here and talk for the next 10 days and still not cover everything. But one of the other things, and this is the one thing that I want to really stress right now, and this is what I heard from every single person that just talked in here, and that is, and I've learned to say this a lot, and that is, we've learned to be interested and not interesting, because there's a difference. When you're interested in the lady, and I can't remember her name, Monica, the lady that was in the power chair. I think her name was Monica also. If it wasn't, I apologize to her. But, one of the things she talked about is she's with the city of Plainfield, and the things that she does, people come into her office and they're looking for somebody else, but she's willing to listen to what they have to say to help them get through to wherever they need to actually go. Because she said, it's amazing that somebody will come in and say, I went to this department, they told me to go here, so I go to that department, they told me to come here. Now I'm here, where do I go? And she'll actually sit and listen to them and say, this is what you need. So learn to be interested and not interesting, which interesting means we're gonna tell them about who it is, who we are and what we do, and not listening to what their situation is. Because everybody's situation is different, it is what it is, that in some way, shape, or form, you said it. We're all gonna be there someday. Some of us are just there earlier than others. And the biggest thing through all this of programs and services is we want people to become independent as they can possibly become. Yeah, my kids are never going to be independent. I get that and I understand. It is a 24-hour day thing. And I said this earlier today. One of them falls asleep and the other one wakes up. When that one finally falls asleep, this one wakes up. And it's all night long for me, and it's all day, My reprieve is things like this, that I can come to work and do what I do, and I've got a nurse at the house to be there with them during the day, so that's my time that I don't have to, not that I don't worry about them, but, if my phone goes off and I see it's the nurse, then I've got to pick up the phone, but, this is my time to be able to do whatever I can do, and it's my time alone, I guess, is what I have to say. So that's what this whole group is all about, is getting to know and understand what's going on out there in the community and how we can get this information out to more and more people. I would love to be able to come into a meeting like this and we have 50 people here and 35 of them are business owners that are saying, I just want to know what, how can I make my business more accessible? Because I would like for those people to be able to come and visit my establishment. So, the big picture of all this is NDOT pushed this, or DOJ pushed this down to NDOT, and NDOT's pushed it out to municipalities, and that is go out and find out what we need to do, number one, track what it is that we need to do, but listen to what it is, what our constituents are telling us and what those things are that we need to do. So that's why we're here, and then by doing those things, we're gonna see less and less and less lawsuits, and more businesses become compliant. And that's the bottom line of all this is, let's make businesses be compliant, so. From my business perspective, and I can't tell you, I could sit here and give you story after story after story, but I'm just gonna use one that I was called to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan, because there was a project done in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and there was a battle between the architectural firm, the contractor, the University of Michigan and then the Building Inspection Department. And the issue was, the architectural drawings showed that stud wall to stud wall in these bathrooms that were supposed to be accessible was 60 inches, which is a minimum. And I say all the time to these guys, it's a minimum, make it bigger. Well, they didn't. Well, what's the problem? So the inspector's saying, sorry, but we can't pass it. Why can't they pass it? Because stud wall to stud wall is pre-drywall. They put half-inch drywall on both walls and now became 59 inches. And the inspectors were not going to pass it because it was not 60 inches. And they went back on the architectural firm to correct it. And the architectural firm's like, what's the big deal? It's an inch. Make it 64, because 60 is a minimum. And it was your fault that you said stud wall to stud wall, and that's pre-drywall. Now it's 59 inches, it's not compliant. The architectural firm had to pay a contractor to go back into 80 facilities and change the restrooms. And you say, well, you know, well, it couldn't have been that much. Well, you have to move a whole wall, which gets your general contractor involved, which gets your electrician involved, which gets your drywall contractor involved, which gets your carpentry contractor involved for the trim work, which gets your ceiling contractor involved. And all of a sudden, you've got 8 contractors on a project to move a wall. And they were looking at almost $3,500 per room to change and multiply that times 80. And I kept saying, I understand your drawings, but understand the numbers are minimums. There's nothing that says you can't go to 68. But with that being said, so you know, ICC, International Code Council, is now changing those numbers to 65. No, I'm sorry, 66. 6 foot 6 inches is the turning radius, is what they're going to be adopting. ADA still says at this point 60, but because ICC, which is going to be adopted, and then it goes to IBC, International Building Code, you have to build it to those standards, so all of a sudden you're going to be at 66 inches. So it's not going, from an ADA standpoint, you've exceeded what is the requirement from ADA. So eventually ADA is going to say, we're just going to make ours the same as what theirs. But ADA will say minimum. The only maximum number in ADA, does anybody know what the maximum number? There's only one number that's a maximum in ADA.
The reach.
It's a reach, and it's in the shower.
Good job.
It's a shower. So so when you transfer from a chair to a shower, the maximum reach from the back of the shower to the front of the shower is 36 inches. Maximum. That's the only maximum in ADA. Everything else is minimums. And the reason for that is for somebody to be able to reach up and do the controls.
I have a question. This is a
Yes.
dumb question, and I know it's been
No
asked
dumb
multiple
questions.
times. What would it take from a legislative standpoint, I mean, in order to get IBC and ADA to be more uniform? I mean, what would that take, besides an act of God?
Getting builders groups on before you get to the general assembly. And building codes are all, they're state building codes, but a lot of those are local.
And why, for example, why does our building commission not look at that?
I'm going to answer that. I believe they do.
Because I asked why Mr. Real wasn't here anymore. He said, they don't look at that.
I know Lafayette and West Lafayette both do.
I mean, that's my question.
Right.
What would it
So-
take?
Well, it's not mandated for residential.
It's not mandated for residential, no.
It'd be more
Most
commercial,
all
industrial.
Most of the inspections that we do.
Most of them are residential.
Yeah, that'd be and private businesses,
Required,
they are
they
required.
are required.
So who inspects those?
You guys would do them.
Well, that's my point. That's what I'm talking about.
Because here's
Why do we
the,
not enforce that?
because here's one
I
of the
assume
things
they
that you
probably
find, and we talked about it in the previous
do.
meeting, and that is, a lot of business owners say, well, I don't have customers come to me, so I don't have to follow ADA. But you have employees, and they're gonna come to your building,
Even still, I mean.
but it's getting that information out. But, so, when ADA started becoming, because this has been law for a long time,
But the
35
ADA
years.
says that for employees, I have to do it when the need arises, I have to make the accommodation.
If
But
you
it's
have
not,
less
in
than
the common
so many
areas, I
people.
don't have to. that's how they get around that though. Isn't that true? Tony, I mean, is that not the case? That's how they get around that?
Yes.
Shouldn't be.
That's how they get around it.
If you look at Title III, because they're still required, because government agencies are all Title II, private businesses are Title III, and it's so many employees, but you still have to make things, you still have to meet the parking spot requirements, you
Right.
still have to make the building accessible.
But I'm just talking about from other, but that's how they get around those
Right.
things. When it's in the code like that. That's the problem. That's why I said, it's, who do we need to talk to? And how do we need to go about saying, hey, why aren't we making this better? Is that a legislative issue? Not just for the state. I mean, is that like federal? Is that the issue? Why can't they get these two to be more uniform?
Well, I mean, the best example I've got is even the architectural world in engineering a project for county government. I'm still shocked at the number of times that an ADA item, 111 building, we're ready to open that thing up and we gotta take a 4-hole bathroom and make it a 1-hole bathroom because the architects just blew it up and did it wrong.
Well,
So,
do you remember Kim Parlberg at the ADA symposium? And she used to talk about all that and said that they were getting closer. But that's what I didn't know was what does it take in order to get them to get that closer?
And that's what I was gonna say, is if you looked at years ago when you had ADA civil rights and you had IBC, there was this huge gray area in between, and that gray area is getting smaller. It may
Just
be
more
that.
time?
Like the 66 inches.
Right,
That's a
but
step.
that's a huge step, because everything would get sent to Department of Homeland Security first for them to approve. There's things that they don't look at, because honestly, truly, they push a lot of this back on the municipalities at this point for you guys to review. And at that point, if you have something in there, and go back to Form 107.
1273.
12,
Federal Highway 1273, is that what you're talking
no,
about?
the other one that Ms. Keys was talking about. There was another form that, if you have that on your form for everything, I guess I don't know how you would do that, because that's if you were doing a project yourself, how would you incorporate that language into when somebody's coming to get a permit, that they have to follow that language?
For commercial or for residential?
For commercial.
Yeah.
For commercial.
You're not gonna be able to do every house that way. There's no.
No, you don't have to do every house that way.
But the
But from a
architects drive a
commercial-
lot of this because they're going by the IBC. I mean,
They go
it's
by
like
IBC.
The fairgrounds, they did it, and their minimums, everything, and the restrooms were 60 inches, and so I fought with them. It wasn't easy, they didn't wanna do it, but before it was built, we went to 72, ended up taking, a foot and a half off each closet, each foot on either side, but.
It was worth it though, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. People that go in there that need it are very thankful,
Happy.
especially if they gotta go with the parking.
But you'll see, here's one of the things that I see is, and I did a project for the community schools of Frankfurt, and when they redid the whole entire parking lot, and for the high school, if you know, outside of Case Arena, how big the parking lot is. And we put additional ADA parking spots in that parking lot. And the original school board come back and said, this is ridiculous. Nobody's ever gonna use these parking spots. Then sectionals came up, and all of a sudden they're like, every parking spot, because I went and took pictures, every parking spot that had an ADA sign was full.
Yeah.
And I took it to the school and I said, do you remember when you guys said that this was ridiculous? And everybody has the negative person comes into this and they said, well, yeah, but how many of those people have a sticker, but it's for their daughter or their son or their mom or their dad? It's like,
Doesn't matter.
That's a whole nother.
Doesn't matter.
that's a whole nother situation, but the parking spots are full because you had them and nobody else could park there. And it was right next to the doors of the arena. But then it turned into, well, we don't have any parking spots by the front door. Well, there are no parking spots by the front door. And ADA doesn't say you have to park at the front door, but
Where
it
you
does says
have
the
them.
most accessible parking spots. So if the accessible parking spot is 20 parking spots down the line,
You know
but
what I was
that's,
thinking, didn't
I
we?
know exactly what
and
So,
that's what we ran into at the fairgrounds was, well, you can't put them here, but you can put them here.
we just
Somebody's
had
gonna
this
complain.
situation this week, didn't we, Tony?
That's the biggest complaint I get at the fairgrounds. It's not about the facility. I get these able-bodied people say, why are there so many spots up front for the ADA?
'Cause I couldn't make any
I
more.
don't answer your question, I just walk away. It's a POW flag, why do you fly the POW flag away?
So,
We had that issue this week. I had, somebody called from the courthouse and said, hey, I have a juror who needs an accessible parking spot. Can we get the city of Lafayette to allow them to park on the street because it could take longer than 2 hours? I said, no. I said, I cannot do that for you. I said, just like anybody else, I said, if an able-bodied person is, if they're subject to a 2-hour time limit, then so is a disabled person. I said, we have a juror lot, so I called Tony. Tony, is my juror lot striped correctly? It is now. It is now.
is there signs? It's not just striping, it's signs.
I don't have the sign yet.
But right now, at least.
But you're working on it.
Yes. But, I mean, but it was just simply because a phone call came through and I had to stop and think, was it? So, thank you. I'm good. And that's all, that's it.
I mean, it doesn't matter how far it is from the door. or-
No, it doesn't.
But because that's the juror parking lot.
Right.
And that's why I said, I don't have to put them up to the door. It would be nice if I could.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if the city of Lafayette would let me do it, like they did let me do it today, very, very briefly. I was not allowed to have the accessible parking spot, but I was able to block off 2 of the city parking spots for a very brief period of time for a special occasion. And then we had to move. But they did agree to it. So they'll accommodate, I mean, they'll try to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, just, again, I go back to Kathy's form, that's something we need to put on the form that says, here was an issue that, because you think you might come up with every scenario possible and think that you have the whole entire county covered, and all of a sudden something comes up and you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think.
Well, you don't know until you don't know.
Right. So, but that's what this group is for, that's the trail that we're blazing right now, is to say, we want to do all the right things. We want to help people become more independent. We want people to have accessibility to anything and everything that they want, because they deserve it just like anybody else does.
We're not gonna go out to the whole community and see if we can find things. Oh, let's find things. It's like, no, but as they're brought to our attention, well, let's just fix it.
And that's one of the things I said at the last meeting too, was of all the complaints that I've dealt with between Tippecanoe County, Clinton County, White County, and Benton County, is I've yet to have one person come back and say, I'm not doing that. Are you crazy? They say, I didn't know. What do I need to do?
What can I do?
Wings, et cetera, the new one in West Lafayette, TVs are too low, you bang your head at everything you come around. I said something when they did, hung them like the first week, and they were not.
Which TVs?
At Purdue?
TV at Wings, et cetera, when you're going back to the
Oh.
restroom, turn a corner, and
Oh.
bang you. They're way low. They can't put a table under it, they can't move it out because it's, they didn't get two.
Wings?
Not
They don't give 2 wings about it.
2 wings about it.
They didn't give to-
Well, and that's one of those
That's what I get.
criterias that isn't brought up a lot, and it's the
80
things that are,
Inches.
yeah,
80
80
inches.
inches.
I love walking around town banging my head on the bottom like I am.
I was gonna say, I've been running into stuff my whole life at 6'3", so it's,
Literally and figuratively.
So
Yeah.
it's 80 inches for foot traffic. What is it for bicycles?
Goodness gracious, hi.
96. Clearance has to be, so on a bicycle trail, you have to have 96 inches clearance.
On a sidewalk.
But it's 80.
Is that a
If
trail?
a sidewalk is a
If there's a
bicycle
sign that
path,
says- Yeah.
Huh.
so if it's a shared use path, it's gotta be 96. If it's just a sidewalk, it's gotta be 80. And then anything over 4 inches, above 27 inches off the floor, we start going through all these numbers. But again, these are the things that we see when we go out, and,
That got me on my mic boxes in that facility because I had those, and they're all sticking out 14 inches. And I really need to drop. Right all over
within
the
20,
kind of-
something, cane detection. It's above 27 inches, yes. So again, we're pushing an hour. That's kind of where we wanted to be, but I'm happy that we have a group. Yes, Ken?
I got a couple of questions.
Yes.
To drive interest from the local businesses, can we get a list of businesses from the chamber or somebody or contacts and notify them of our next meeting? So
That's
so-
one of the things they're doing in their
We've
newsletter.
tried that a couple times, and yes, but, I mean, that
Okay.
is a goal going forward.
Okay,
They're all, you have to remember though, a lot of them are scared to show up to that.
Yeah,
They think that we're, I mean, they honestly, they think.
Don't do anything, right? It's,
Yeah. Now, what if we had a meeting, I
Ask
know,
for forgiveness.
since this is a volunteer, community advisory group, I mean, what if we had it at different locations and not in a county government facility?
Yeah, I'm even thinking if, so there's a group, they have a nickname, and they come out anytime it's local food people, it's not the food mafia, but something like that. And that when they come out organized, whenever we start talking about beverage tax or something, there were some taxes related to restaurants that really got them upset. But there is an unofficial group of local restaurateurs that would, bars and restaurants, that it would be interesting to have a conversation with them to just take their temperature and see how they feel about input, if they know that it's intended to do good and it's not, it's a small tool instead of a 10-pound sledgehammer. I think it would be, and there's some leadership in that group that's changed a little bit, but I know some of those folks, and you do too. That would be a great place to start, because they're successful business people that have a lot of traffic in and out of their businesses, and would probably be interested in hearing what we've got to say. And I'm sure some of them are absolutely fine, and some of them probably haven't given a thought to any of the issues that may arise, so.
And like what you had talked about with the stickers, if it was something where we could say, hey, this is a compliant building, so now on one of our websites, we would have a link to, hey, here's some facilities that, this is free advertising
That'd be
to,
perfect for a Greater
to a
Lafayette
restaurant that says, hey, we're accessible. And, if somebody needs accessible restaurants, wow, it popped up on a Google search
Well,
that
and I'll tell you who else did that,
accessible
Visitors
restaurants.
Bureau. Because they do that with pet-friendly locations, dining options. They do that with pet-friendly places. They do. Places where you can go, and you can go downtown and you can take your dog.
I wouldn't take my dog to any restaurant.
They have the cat lounge downtown.
I won't take my dog to the cat lounge.
You gonna take your dog to the cat lounge? But, I mean, that is exactly what, because I remember, the guy was here from Bloomington. They do that in Bloomington. He said they did it 35 years ago.
They started this 35 years ago.
So, and he's anxious for us to go down there, and he really wants us to go down there and check out all of the cool things that they've done.
Right. And I've been there a couple times, and it's pretty amazing, which is why we started talking about the sticker program, was because that's what they did.
And it's not just sit there and say, oh, it just says, hey, we've already vetted this place, and it's gonna be easy for you to get in and out of, or it's gonna be, they have different menus if you need them, or they have, a restroom that you can get to if you wanna go in there. So,
Yeah, I was surprised. I went to have a surgery one time, and I had to sign the disclosure statement. And I said, do you have large print? And they said, no. I'm at a hospital, and you don't have large print, because they said not to bring anything, so I didn't bring my glasses. I couldn't read it. My
Really?
wife's, yeah,
and they couldn't accommodate that?
no,
Wow.
yeah, at a hospital. I was really taken back and surprised, and this is amazing to me.
Wow. Wow, that's kind of-
Just initial it.
Well, and that's what my wife was, she was like, yeah, well, that's what, she was like, okay, just do it, you know what it says, you just do it, yes. Well, yes, I know what it says, but it was more me going, hey, I need this, because, I didn't bring my cheaters, so, in a big blur,
Well,
and
then
they
you
had
really had a
nothing.
hard time with Tim's presentation of it.
Oh, no, I was sitting really close to that screen. Yes, but I mean, it was one of those weird places that I was testing it, and it didn't work. And, I don't expect it when I go into a small restaurant or something like that.
Yeah, I have to take
But
classes.
when I go in to, have a colonoscopy, and they can't give me something I can read, really, I was surprised.
So,
There's so many things I.
Yeah.
you got anything else that you guys want to add?
Uh,
Go ahead.
This is not considered a government
No,
body.
no, this is
So-
a volunteer this is a consumer or a, citizen.
So the new live streaming laws do not apply to these meetings.
The what?
The new live streaming laws. July
No.
1, any,
We're recording it though, just for our
But-
own,
but
yeah.
July 1, any government meeting held in this room has to be live streamed.
But this is a citizens advocacy group, so.
Yeah, we do not fall under municipality.
We're
We'll
sponsoring
double
it
check
and
we'll
housing
double
it
check
here.
that, just to be sure, but I don't think that there's.
I don't
It's a
think so.
good question.
Tracy, I want to move the advisory board out of here.
I was wondering, and I know some, advocates were wondering, do they do any kind of training with the police officers? Like, do they have advocates, like, train the police officers on people with intellectual disabilities, like?
They're doing more and more, but I will let you answer that.
I think, at least it was, part of the core training that officers have to do on an annual basis. And I don't know the specific language about that topic, but I think it's in that, 36 or 40 hours of training they have on an annual basis, and it has to be law enforcement training board recognized, meaning that it has to be given by certified instructor. So I think they added a bunch of things to that annual certification about 10 years ago.
I was gonna say, and then probably here in the last 5 years with the increased Mental Health America initiative that they've done more and more things, haven't they, sir? I mean.
Yeah, I think the last one that they may have added had to do with spectrum disorders.
Okay.
And so it is good to.
It's becoming more and more, they're becoming more and more aware, and yes, they are doing it. I don't know what their schedule is or the criteria or anything. But we typically do normally have an officer or two on this advisory council, but they were unavailable today.
Be a great question for them.
That'd be an Andy Cree question, Tracy? I can reach out and ask it even more. I do know that they have it though. And I can tell you that, one of the people that sits on this board, it would be, Captain Tommy Lehman. He's actually gone to training the last 2 or 3 times. 2, 3. I think he's gone to the last 3 symposiums. And I know that he's also committed to it. So, I think that's it. I sent out the information on a mission statement. Y'all can look at that, think about it, whatever, reply back. We'll meet again,
3 months.
July?
Yes, the end of July. Try to bring somebody else if you know somebody
Yeah.
that would be interested in
You know
coming to
somebody, bring
this.
somebody.
A friend,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Coworker.
8 people.
because again, this is how the information is gonna get out.
So, then, are we doing it the 4th or the 5th? There's a July 29th. It's the last Tuesday of the month. Is that what you were planning? Okay.
And we had talked, so everybody knows, because in the past, we've done this in the evening, and we had said about trying to do this during the day, because when you try to do it in the evening, the question is, what time in the evening? Because if you say 7 o'clock, people get home and they're like, I'm not going back out. I'm home.
That is 100% me.
Yeah.
Once I'm at the
You know,
house.
so, but then there's gonna be some people that can't come at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, if we were to do something at 4 o'clock and know it's gonna be an hour meeting, at 5 o'clock, they're going home anyway. You know, so we just hope that they tell their boss, yeah, I'm going to the meeting and go home, but. So that's been one of the things we've kicked around is, you know, do we do a 3 o'clock meeting? Do we do a 4 o'clock meeting? We don't wanna do evenings because, again, we feel like it's gonna be tough.
So it's so we do 3, 4, 3:30, what are you talking about for the next one?
I would say 3:30 myself.
What are you specifically looking for? I mean,
just
To
more
come.
members of the community to come and just give us feedback and just share in this group and tell us about some of the things that we may not be aware of.
Okay.
Just to be a part of it, just to help us.
Because I know Grant's house is coming up, and I'm
Friday night.
volunteering for that, so,
I'll be
I mean,
there.
I could give word of mouth about
Yep.
it.
I will be there Friday night.
Okay.
I'll find you.
I'm a
You're gonna be
fry,
there?
I'm a fry runner.
I'm gonna call, I got a check from, it's taking 8 years.
So you're not gonna be there though? Supposedly it's supposed to be the best Dan's Fish Fry, it's supposed to be the best.
Dan's Fish Fry.
I don't eat at the fairgrounds. I don't eat anything there. Not for free.
Not even an elephant?
No, absolutely none of that. Take one thing free and next thing you know. I don't eat there, I don't take anything.
Well, thanks, everybody, for coming out,
I just put
giving some input, it gave me some notes, I've got my other notes. But at the next meeting, we'll discuss, hopefully we can have somebody here from the chamber. I'd like to invite, I can't think of her name, from visiting Lafayette, West Lafayette.
Joe Wade?
Joe Wade. Bringing Joe Wade into this meeting as well.
Yes,
I think she would be
That
a
would be
good
wonderful.
person to bring in and,
yes.
so she knows and understands what we're doing, so when people come to her to find out things are going on in the community, she can also let them know that, hey,
The people that are ready to move here or wanna move here or perspective.
Right.
Or the people that are just coming to visit on the weekends that we have a ball game, or we have an event, or a festival, or this, that, or the other.
right.
Jason McManus might be a good one. He's the CEO of Wabash Center.
Okay.
What
Do you-
about
are
item?
you familiar with him?
Huh?
Are you pretty familiar
What
with
about
him?
an
Are
act-
you-
Oh, yeah, I
No,
used
just like
to,
an act
I
booth.
used to be an individual that worked in their shelter
No,
workshop,
I'm just-
and then I was a DSP.
Can you call the time and bring him?
Chairs, I don't eat there. No.
Any influence you have would be greatly appreciated.
I think he'll be there at Grant's house.
Okay. Well, whatever we can do to help us.
Yeah.
That's what we wanna do.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all.
Oh, my God.
And then, do you know?
No, I don't.
Paula, do we need to move
He's
these
your
tables,
counterpart in West Lafayette.
move these tables back?
So,
Is there anything else